Hello.
You guys want the lights on or not? Sure.
Hey, Chris, they're just setting it up, the owl, and then we'll get started.
Hey,
Hey, I was just telling Chris that you guys were setting stuff up.
yeah, and right now it's just Rich and I believe Melody and John are coming and Jack. So
Okay.
we're still kind of waiting for people to file in as well.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Extension cord.
We might just for that one, yeah.
There you go.
Great, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I don't mind it. Yeah, right. Hello.
Hello. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Jack. We're still getting things set up.
Apologies, my internet was not as strong as it could be. I'm gonna kick my note taker out. Oh, I can't. I don't have that power.
I might be able to.
Okay.
No,
not
I think Cass might have to.
I can do it.
Oh, I can do it. I got it.
Love it. That's just not
Oh,
necessary.
that was working.
Although, my life would be easier if that note taker could attend our regular SAB meetings.
I mean, yeah, if you want to do that, we can definitely add them or add the note taker because that could make, meeting minutes a lot easier too.
Yeah. I think the easiest way to do that is just can this email be added to the invite? I think
Yes. Can you just send me, hi, can you just send me the email? And I can add it. Well, I'll have Peter add it to the invite, I believe.
Awesome.
And the audio's working, so that's cool.
Hey, Rich.
Hey.
So for some reason, my camera keeps just like turning off. I don't know why the owl does that, but I will try and notice it and turn it back on when I can. Right. And I was told John is coming as well.
Yes, he
Well.
he left like a few minutes ago, so he should be there soon.
Great. I'm sorry not to be live in the multi-purpose room with you guys. It looks like quite the party.
No worries. We can smell brownies in here too. It's kind of nice.
Mm.
Someone's cooking in there.
Oh, yeah.
Um, does anybody have, any ideas on the best way to like summarize and compile our recommendations on these comments? Like, do we want to sort them into and under the different categories that like John had in that question document, or is there a different way?
So I guess
What's the end use of what we're trying to compile? Because we,
Comments to the BOT on their letter of what we think should be added into that.
If the end audience, the BOT, I would prioritize by our level of concern um, as one framework. Because my assumption would be that it will then get reorganized to fit their structure of the letter they're putting together. And so just highlighting the things we think are most, or like just framing it in terms of what is most important to from our perspective. It seems like it would make sense.
Oh, are we in session? Do we
Sorry.
have everything ready to go?
yeah, everything is ready to go on the virtual side of things.
Okay. Well, I have something to say. I made a statement during the BOT meeting of that they were planning on using cyanide in their leaching process at the mill. And I remember reading that in the thing, but someone asked me about it and I went back and looked and I couldn't find anything about it. So I would have sworn on a stack of Bibles that I read that. There are references to cyanide and like water quality assessments, and there's a reference to cyanide in the post mining testing that they're going to do of water effluent. But I don't know how I made that mistake. I'm pretty embarrassed about it. So I just want to make it clear that what I said was incorrect. And I mean, what I said that it was in the document was incorrect. I don't know particularly what chemicals they're going to plan on using. There are methods of extracting the gold without using cyanide. And I don't know where I came up with that. I don't know why I thought I read that, but it was, I read it now and I don't know why I had that in my memory. So that's all I need to say on that.
I think one of the big omissions to their application is that it doesn't include any details about the mill. No would be a proposed addition after this application was approved. And
Yeah.
any processing of concentrates after also is not included.
That's all true. However, that is not in any way correct. The mistake I made of thinking I saw that in the application, so.
I think it says that like that is one common way to process ore, but it doesn't directly state that's the way they're gonna.
I couldn't even find that.
Yeah, I think
So,
we were just discussing maybe in general how they do it, and typically cyanide is used, and so
cyanide is probably the most common, but I was researching it today and there are other ways of doing it using other chemicals.
and they don't say specifically what they're doing because the
No.
mill is
No,
what.
that would be part
Yeah,
of the mill.
okay.
No,
Yeah.
so,
Okay. Well, I could definitely use some help on how we want to structure this meeting today and how we want to make sure we get everything done in the hour that we have. Anybody has suggestions?
We can go through the concerns that were talked about last time and maybe prioritize these in terms of like what ones we want to recommend the BOT include in the letter. And I think probably more specific makes sense, like offering actual language for them to include instead of bullet points, just to make it like easy. I don't know, John, what do you think makes most sense?
That would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that some of the things we talked about last time, I probably found new information on, and then there's probably things we talked about that we didn't talk about last time that we also want to include.
Mhm.
So I guess let's start by going through our concerns from last time.
Yeah, I can, so I put those notes in the Google Drive. Sorry for the last minute upload of that, but I can also say them out loud. But yeah, and that email should have the link to that Google document.
Sorry, which email? The
It would,
Cox Gold Mine 310 work session email?
yeah, I sent it today.
Okay.
It was not
Yeah.
the most recent one because that was the meeting location change but it would be the one sent at 11.
Notes cross mine work session
Yes.
3-3. Okay.
Yeah, I guess there's just some things.
I think something that we didn't talk about last time, which occurred to me and I did address to the DOT was, mills are loud, so there's also a noise pollution aspect in a high recreational environment.
Yeah, considerations for the same,
Sorry?
habitat considerations for the same.
For,
Yeah,
for, animals, for sure, yeah.
So we've got notes of like general concerns, so social responsibility, navigating interactions with recreation, considering wildlife interactions, compliance issues, etc. And then we've also got notes on the environmental plan specifically that I think would need to get separated and put in the right
Yeah.
kind of topic. And then we've got stuff about like their water testing.
Hmm.
Do we want to say anything about possible impact on historical sites or something like that? Because there is, it's a ghost town up there. There's that old, I think it was a store, those stone buildings across the street up the hill a little bit. There's that old cabin, which I think is probably on the cross mine.
So the cabin is owned by the mine
Yeah,
itself.
right.
The other structures, I wasn't able to figure
Right.
out who owned them, and they're not listed on the like permanent structures list. So I was gonna mention it in mine.
Yeah.
Of, there are some historic buildings up here. It's not
Mhm.
clear if there's gonna be any.
I think you're allowed to
effect on
consider
them.
archaeological considerations as well, and there could be undocumented historical stuff up there
Oh,
potentially too.
there certainly is on the old town site, I would think, but that's
Yeah.
all private property owned by the Cross Caribou Mine, I think.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking too.
I think you could still make that case potentially, even though,
Even if it's private,
Yeah.
that could be,
Yeah, it's something to mention for me that's lower on the priorities. But yeah, definitely.
did you get that act? I sent to Britt, and maybe she didn't get it too, I don't know, on Friday.
Did you just send it to her email?
It may have gotten stuck in my drafts. I'm not 100% sure.
I didn't see it, so I wasn't able to add it to the packet.
I'm not sure that I got it, but I will double
It
check.
might have got stuck in my drafts. I'll resend it to you. It's got, and I can add things from that too. That can be more town
Do you want to send that
focused. Yeah.
to like SAB, just all of SAB?
Yep. I'll do that right.
Thank you.
It has things like, there's additional requirements in the environmental protection plan. The reclamation plan must ensure that the land is restored to a condition equal or better to its pre-mining state. And it needs to pay particular attention to soil stability, water quality, and revegetation. There needs to be financial warranty sufficient to cover the estimated costs of reclamation, including water quality protection and treatment. Any failure of or imminent failure of impoundments, embankments, slopes that may pose a potential danger to persons, properties, or environment must be reported. And then the term mining operation is very wide in this case. It's just development or extraction of a mineral from its natural occurrences on affected land. And it may, there's some considerations that may be made in that as well.
And what is that?
That's the new House bill. And then in this thing I'm sending to you guys, oh crap. That just,
Cause
In
that
there.
all felt like language I read in the rules 3 and 6.
yeah, it's the most recent House bill, basically.
Okay, so it's probably the 6.4. Yeah, which I actually sent that out to everybody. That was in Cass's email
Okay, cool.
today.
And then I'll send you a copy of the letter that we're working on, a full copy.
Okay. Do you guys have categories for concerns already that,
Yeah, that's how I structured mine. It's based off the criteria.
where did you source that criteria from? I'm just curious because
From the original email that they had sent out when the application was coming.
okay, because all my communication with Patrick is just slightly different. So just curious where that list came from, if it was something you had put together based on reading something, or if that was given to us by the division.
So I just invited everybody to this Google Doc where we can hopefully summarize our concerns and the language that we want to send directly to the BOT. So that we have a working document.
How long?
I sent the letter from me too.
So I think maybe making a list.
What's the first thing on there? What's the first topic?
Well, I'm just looking at our notes from last time. So I was thinking we'd take the concerns and then like decide on, basically number them on priority of what we want to include in, what we want the BOT to include in their letter. So like one of them being social responsibility, sustainability in terms of fair labor.
Yeah, but you said you're sharing
I'm sharing
another.
a document where we can all add to it and change the language.
Yeah, so from the BOT letter,
Yes.
we should take their categories of
Mhm.
concerns, put that into that document,
Okay.
and then we'll filter everything in there
Yes, that's a good idea.
under that.
So I just received the share from John. Is that what we're talking about?
Nope.
No, I don't think that's actually.
We're waiting.
Document.
Yeah, if you,
That document is like the draft that we had started. It's got the,
Should be an email coming from Cass.
Okay.
or if you go into that email I sent,
With the drive link.
yeah, it has the Google Drive link to the folder and it should be in there as well.
Okay, and what's the title of the document?
It is SAB Crossmine BOT letter recommendation.
I don't.
It's actually grayed out for me. It looks like it hasn't uploaded yet. Do you have internet access?
Says I do. But the community center is,
Yeah, I can't.
There's
open
usually a
the
little
file even
refresh
directly
thing.
in Drive.
here, let me double check it's even up there for me.
So funny, it
Lists it for you. It doesn't even list it for me. Well, my personal letter is about 4 pages right now.
Are you gonna submit that, like, just yourself? Okay.
And I looked at the comment form and I pasted like 8 pages of text in there and it still didn't tell me I was over the limit. So it doesn't seem like there's a word or character limit or anything, which is good to know. One of the big things that I don't know the best way to address this or if we address it, but part of the whole process is they have to determine if there's any towns within 2 miles of their facility. Netherland is about 3 miles from their facility. And so none of their application lists that Netherland is within this, because it's technically not, but I think it's something that I would like the division to consider as, even though the town of Netherland isn't within 2 miles of the facility, it's still very close. And a lot of people who use our community do live within that 2 miles on that Caribou Road section.
Heard anything back from Boulder County about what they might be doing?
yeah, they're drafting their letter. I did talk to our water attorney and they can review our letter. They have somebody who has some experience in that space. So we can do the review by ours and then we're gonna meet with Boulder County and City of Boulder before the due date, just to make sure everybody's in the same general ballpark.
Got the email.
Yay! I love the slow internet here.
Yeah, and the document disappeared from me.
No, it just appeared.
I can see you typing. That's kind of.
One person. has
I
it
don't-
working for them, but
I still don't have it.
This file is
I'm
apparently in spam, not spam.
Rich, I have not
No problem.
Maybe I got it.
Jack, what are you saying?
Rich's cartoon avatar showed up, and I've never seen that before here.
Yeah, that's my cartoon avatar. Back when I had hair.
Oh, this is the old labor though, right? Or the old letter. He just sent us his.
His new one, yes, right.
So fair labor. So if we're setting out priorities and then fitting all our comments into them and redrafting them to language that is, let's go with intelligible from notes to something coherent. Fair labor.
Yep, so
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Melody.
Cass is gonna paste in, or I can, the
I am almost. there.
letter from Jonathan that the BOT is drafting. Inside of that, there are different categories for concerns. So we've got environmental impact of water quality, adequacy of the water treatment system. And so we should take those categories.
Yeah.
As what we'll filter our comments under and come up with, you know, agreeable language for all those.
Okay.
So, first concern is environmental impact and water quality. So what's our most high priority concerns for that?
So just a quick question, I guess.
Yeah.
How detailed are we going to be in this letter versus an amendment to this letter? Are we just listing the concerns, or are we going into depth about the underlying?
If we have the ability to add specificity, I think it's helpful. Like the
Okay.
more we can, it doesn't have to be like super long, but if we can be really succinct about that, I think it's a good thing. There's a burden of proof question here, and it's a little bit unclear, it seems like, about who has the burden of proof, because we can't exactly go and like look at the rock or anything like that. And so what,
They do give us rock constituent.
Yeah.
The ore constituents.
it's from there, they have a, it's, I may
It's
be
from the
wrong.
90s,
Yeah, that's how,
but it's, you know, it should be accurate.
What's an
Um,
geologic time? Sorry.
So an example of one of my bullet points on this whole wastewater treatment thing is they are currently testing the efficacy of their wastewater treatment method. The plan mentions, quote, periodic testing of water and wastewater, yet it is unclear how often it will actually occur. Testing should occur whenever there's an out of the ordinary incident, and at least weekly, if not more frequently, to ensure any hazards are identified and remediated as quickly as possible. For context of how I'm wording things.
Sorry, Melody, was the latter part of that statement was what you would add? Or that whole statement was an example of how you would frame that?
So that is how I would say, what is the problem? They're only testing the efficacy right now. They don't actually know.
Right.
A more detailed point of the problem in the application itself, it says they'll do periodic testing, but they don't say what that means. And then what my proposed solution would be to making sure they're testing weekly, if not more frequently.
Yeah, and I think where they're doing that testing, right? Because their testing is at the leaching ponds, not.
I thought there was 2 or 3 testing sites on the surface water maps.
Okay.
There was at least 2. There was because there's a pre-discharge testing site as well. And then there's the ponds, and then they test it. I think, is it at the Idaho tunnel where it comes out? I thought there was another spot. I could be wrong though, but I have that. I'll pull it up real quick and see if I can figure out that question. Um, I saved the application in like 10 different PDFs based on sections, so I can just pull up like one little piece that I'm looking for. Okay, water sampling locations. There is a pre-discharge site, and then there's the post-discharge site below the mine operation. So yeah, there's really just the one test site. You're right about that. That has
Yeah,
potential
and
for issues.
they've got a control set up above. And I guess there's like something that we've talked about is that core concern where their testing is focused on the most obvious and easiest to detect source of pollution, which is discharge from this from into the surface water from the site. I think it would be worthwhile to, yeah, Rab is putting it in right now.
And what am I doing?
Oh, you just added retention time of under hydrological and technical concerns, rock fracturing and groundwater flow. Retention time of the basin is 1 month to 5,000 years, and there's no no plan or no comment towards monitoring anything that gets into the groundwater or the uncertainty around that, given that it's a new, that it's a pilot.
There's so many different. Can this all just be aerial size 11 or something?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to make it uniform now.
They also mention in several places that they feel the only place they need to test is where the mine discharge and water treatment occurs, because they don't have any other places where they think that either runoff or things are going to be stored. They really don't foresee any other places where a hazards could go into water besides on their discharge line. They state that they have tested the rock. There's no potentially acid rock. And so in their waste piles, they are not going to be monitoring the runoff from those waste piles. They said ore is going to be stored inside of like the containers that are on site there. And so they don't foresee runoff from that ore because it'll be stored inside somewhere. All feels a little lacking in planning to me.
Especially if they contain arsenic. What? Which are water.
Yeah, so the ore and the waste rock samples that they have, the waste rock samples all show within acceptable limits or whatever in regards to the test. But I think with the history of mining materials, it's pretty reasonable to assume that there are going to be some sort of potentials for runoff from their waste piles.
Huh.
So just from an organizational point of view, we have our first three bullets are environmental impact and water quality, adequacy of the water treatment system, which may or may not have some overlap, and then hydrological concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to split those out any different than that? Or lump them any different than that? Since it seems like,
Yeah, these are just what I took from John's
yeah,
draft letter.
Yeah, and I am not an expert in these spaces. I was just trying to create and craft reasonable concerns so that it's not, that are really based in what might happen operationally. So anything you guys have that modifies, or even if you want to take things out, I'm comfortable and happy for the help with that.
yeah, it's just sometimes it's hard, like, am I? Yeah, which one of these topics does water treatment fall under, kind of falls under water treatment, and also falls under water quality, and it also falls under hydrological and the consideration of the entire basin, so it's.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's a good answer, but
I don't know that there is either. I structured mine based on environmental and public health concerns generally. And then more specifically regarding stope mining, the style of mining proposed, regarding the mill site, regarding reclamation plans, and regarding this as a pilot project. So that's kind of how it made sense as categorized in my mind, but. I think one of the difficult things for me as far as organization wise is pulling out the difference between our concerns about water because of the mining operation that's proposed and our concerns about water based on the reclamation plans. Because I'm not sure, so do we include those all under our environmental concerns, or do we include them under this section for reclamation plan? So in my letter, I think a lot of my stuff was really about the reclamation plan. I mean, there's definitely some other things, but
They had a, did you say at the board meeting that they had a cadmium spike a few, or some, didn't that come up that there was some kind of spike a few years ago or something?
yeah, they had an accidental release in 2019, I believe it was.
2021
2021.
or 2019 through 2021.
Which included cadmium and at least the
I
most
didn't-
concerning part for me was the cadmium, but I think there was also arsenic and lead in that release. I'm not sure. Should be very Googleable. Let's see.
Oh, did I not put it down? I guess I didn't keep the link in my notes. I don't know.
Yeah, May, here, it's in the Mountaineer, I can find something.
Oh,
It's also in
that's why,
Colorado-
'cause it's
it was
in
also
my
the
Mountaineer
Colorado
book here.
Sun 2021 cease and desist order. Fines up to $55,000 a day.
which I don't think they ended up paying.
They
I think I saw the payment letter with like $16,000.
Let's just say up to, and so.
Do you think the point of testing, is there a proposed pathway that you would like to see? Like, should there be one closer to town too, just in case you do see water movement underground? Like, how far away is reasonable to?
Yeah, I think that's a great question for the hydrological or environmental engineer that they hire to answer.
There is was
I
it
get-
a nonprofit volunteer. Trying to think of the organization she's with, but I can't. She lives in, I believe, Loveland area. And tests up here a couple times a year, usually in that Coontrek Creek. I think. I'm not sure that if it makes sense to put another testing site closer to town. I think maybe we're more concerned about is the potential for other runoff into the creek and not just at the discharge site.
Yeah.
So I think we'd be looking for another testing site. That's a little farther downstream of the actual.
And I think you had mentioned last time about the creation of a baseline over some period of time.
Yeah.
To compare to, if that either already exists, it should be documented or it needs to be created.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I would conceptually how I would think about the like desire for an additional testing site would be trying to catch things that it would not be caught by the like immediately downstream of the on-site storage. So like, if it was groundwater testing, I would want it to be like, I don't know what the right word is, but like in the direction of flow from like a potential groundwater intrusion, and hopefully in the direction in such a way that you could catch it less than a X number of years based on what you'd expect that flow to be. But like we don't know what that looks like based on the studies that
Yeah.
1 month through 5,000 years, right? If we're catching something like, yeah. Sorry.
Just to circle back, the 2021 violation included cadmium, copper, lead, zinc, silver. And yeah, and then like 2 to 4 times the permitted concentration.
Is it fair to say, like, when you know that those metals are present, that, and there's already been a spill, that the materials, that the management plan for that water, or whatever, however you say that, needs to be carefully considered, because we already know that that's happened, and now you're seeing it increase from the 9 acre to the 200 acre thing, like, and that could have much.
I think that's the reason for the state telling them that they have to build a wastewater treatment facility up there. And so I don't know whether that's worth commenting on, if that's something the state is already concerned with and already paying attention to. I think environmentally, it's a good thing that they're not going to be able to continue using those ponds, and they're going to need to actually put in a full-scale treatment facility.
It's just, I guess, whether that point of treatment is sufficient, or if water percolates the rock into different places potentially.
Yeah. Yeah, so their waste pile is probably one of the biggest things, square footage wise, that they have listed in their like surface structures or whatever. And like I said, they're just planning on piling the waste rock in a pile of 30,000 cubic tons or whatever it said, and that's it. They're not going to monitor it, they're not going to line it, they're not doing anything to that pile, they're just piling rock directly on the ground. And so let's say they had no idea, but there happens to be some acid forming rock in that pile, and then it rains, all of that's going into the watershed, but it's not going to get caught on their testing procedures.
Something that's interesting to me is that in Clear Creek County right now, they're making people remediate all their waste rock piles and get rid of them.
Yeah.
And then here, there seems to be no actual consideration for creating something new that hasn't been there for over 100 years and had leach steam through it already.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious about why that standard is there.
From what I was reading in their application, it's because they've tested the rock, and according to them, the rock's not acidic. So that shouldn't be any problem.
The one last question.
Yeah.
Do you think there's problems with their studies, like the way that they've done their studies? Because that has come up with the.
Can I officially prove that there's problems? No. Do I think there's probably a lot of shady stuff going on up there because there's not a lot of oversight and they're in the middle of nowhere? Yeah.
I think that if they're proposing a multi-million-dollar expansion project, which this is.
Yep.
They have better data than 1992 data to justify the quality and quantity of the ore.
Yeah.
And there's probably a reason why it hasn't been shared.
It's probably confidential. So what I was looking through is those mining maps, section C, none of them are in the public application. But there's a page as if they were submitted. So my guess is that they show some sort of mineral rights that they don't want the general public to know. And so then they listed those as confidential. And then at the very end of the public facing application is the geotechnical stability report, which is also not there. And so I think that might have also been labeled as confidential. There's the cover pages for them, and then the documents just aren't in the PDF. Which it does say in the application that different things can be marked confidential if they're like proprietary information about their minerals, right?
It's in everything.
You know, I was just looking at a map. And then Creek, Coon Creek, whatever.
Yep.
Runs straight past the Cardinal Mill.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know, and I know that there's some environmental issues with Cardinal Mill that Boulder County can
Mhm.
remediate.
That's their concern. Is it the Boulder Tunnel right there?
No, so it's the old Cardinal, I think it was the town site,
Yeah,
the new Cardinal town site. The old Cardinal town site is halfway up to the Caribou Mine.
Is that where they built that new treatment thing?
No, I
No.
don't think so. There's just this old mill and no one really ever goes there because the road says private road, and I'm not really sure it is a private road, but
I think it's privately maintained.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's owned by Boulder County, this mill. And I know that they are accepting bids for some type of environmental remediation project
Mhm.
going on up there. But, you know, whatever, I don't know if this did charges anything. I don't think it was a mine. I think it was, what happened was they would just take the ore from the Caribou mine and process it at this mill, and probably some other mines around here too.
Mhm.
And if it runs past that, and if there is a discharge issue there, it could get commingled and be impossible to tell where it came from if it was at or below the mill.
I think that's one of Boulder County's concerns, is that it could move underwater into those tunnels
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
When we're done with the meeting, I can tell you all about the interesting history of Cardinal.
Okay, so other environment and water quality issues. As far as wildlife goes, the application states that they have had no problems with wildlife interactions and do not foresee problems with wildlife interactions. They went to the Colorado Parks and Wildlife website, pulled some data from there as far as what species are in the area. Completely pulled remotely from the website. And then said that they are not going to contact CPW directly for further recommendations because they don't feel it's necessary. So some of my concerns are moose calving season. The requirements for these applications specifically mention life cycle events of animals such as calving season. And so they don't seem like they have any plans to change their operations, change noise, change anything based on season. They don't report any wildlife encounters. I couldn't find in any of their manuals, like what to do if you're a mine worker and you come across a moose. And that's just interaction concerns, not like hazardous chemicals to them concerns.
Mhm.
This is the kind of stuff that, like, if you were doing a solar project anywhere, you would absolutely be hiring a specialized ecologist to make sure that your permit was not approved. Sorry, that to make sure your permit was approved, right?
Yep.
Like, and they're just like, it's not an issue.
Yep.
That's wild.
That's kind of how the whole application felt to me.
Agreed.
A little unprofessional.
So in order to actually put this into the BOT letter, John? Sorry.
You're okay.
What do you need from us on these points? It looks like you have a structure of like a topic, the concern and then the question.
I wrote it as if I was being a community planner, and that's how I would structure a staff report.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean, to Melody's point, that's the right way to structure this.
Right.
So I would lean on you guys' kind of gut feeling on what feels right to you here.
Okay.
Those were the things, like I said, I have like enough knowledge to be dangerous, but not maybe know everything. So if there's things that could or could not be in there, we want to redo it. I'm happy with that. It could change completely. So,
Okay,
and I'll have our attorney review it.
and you need it before the,
Like,
Moose and elk, we definitely.
we need,
should list
but
Next week.
18th
Up there.
meeting is when it will
The
be
other one,
approved by the board.
Canada Lakes, because
Tuesday.
I have seen.
And so you need
I
it
could get it
before that.
myself.
well, if I
when
hear what
lived on
Thursday or
Caribou
Friday,
Road,
then I could get it to our attorney.
when I
Well,
lived on
it
Caribou
would
Road
be
in
better to get it
2014,
earlier if possible.
I
but
absolutely
And-
saw it.
We could chat GPT a little
Absolutely.
bit though.
And
Yeah.
my ex-husband
Yeah.
has seen a Wolverine.
I guess
on 505.
What I'm wondering is once this
Really?
meeting's over,
Cool.
Which is the other one.
what is
that
the
They,
expectation?
which is the one that they
I
don't,
compile
they don't
everything or that
list
SAB
Wolverine,
does?
I
Either
think,
way,
as a
you and I can tag
potential
team it.
in their list of endangered
Okay.
species, but they.
I guess I feel if it's a SAB
In the link
recommendation to the
and-
DOT that I can do
Don't they have to
like
usually live like in the forest?
editing and reviewing, but the
Especially if they go-
content should
They-
be from them.
It's fine.
Well, and they want
And if we could get it
to,
like by tomorrow.
like a
at the
mountain
end of the
lion
day or
does
something,
over.
From
What about,
them,
did they mention
If
mountain lions?
possible.
then we can
Yeah, because
make
then I could get
it
it.
cleaner.
I don't
The big thing
think
is getting
so,
it
but they're not
because she can add
Right.
more to it.
endangered or
And I'd love to get
protected.
that part done if possible. It's just gonna take her like a day or two.
Okay, cool.
We're
Um,
tight, I know. So
But you're
No,
right.
that's okay.
like,
I just wanna
in their
know
list
what
of
to
animals,
ask
I'm
for
thinking
from
maybe
them.
they don't
I
have.
can help with this too, so I
Yeah.
can put
Did
extra.
they mention bears?
Their wildlife
You can-
section.
I'll do it extra hours if we need to.
Okay,
I've never seen a
Yeah.
bear.
okay, just because we don't have a ton of time left, with the concerns that we have listed now, I guess what we would like from the SAB is to know more like, yeah, like some of these have really great specifics on them. And I think that would be the best for having like more detail in the letter to ask like specific questions or say we are concerned that there is not information on this specifically. So for John and I to get that information from you all by tomorrow, end of day.
I just want to make sure we have time to get it to the attorney for because she can do like the legal review of the bills and everything, and she probably needs at least 1 or 2 days, and then the packet deadline at latest is Friday. So
Mhm.
if we could basically get that to her,
Mhm.
even if we could get it to her Wednesday, it'd be fine.
Mhm.
We're a little tight.
And that way we can work on the language specifically, just making sure it like is cohesive and goes with the rest of the letter and nothing is like duplicated and everything.
All right, so what, we should have a plan for accomplishing that,
Mhm.
unless we all just want to individually edit the Google document.
Well, like, yeah,
Well, don't we run into sunshine issue laws if more than two of us are on it at a time?
Well, not if we individually just sort of come up with something and send it through an email, which is subject to the Records Act.
mhm,
You could send to Cass potentially,
yeah,
and then we could, or if you designate a person to edit, or
yeah,
I nominate Melody.
I have a huge grading application due tomorrow. And I have been up till 2 a.m. every night this weekend reading this. I am happy. I would prefer that we each work on this Google Doc. Because what happens to me when I get 5 different docs sent at me is compiling that all together. It gets tremendously hard, where if it's all recorded in here with the track changes and comments and suggestions, it's a lot easier to filter through. We just don't want 3 of us logged on at the same time.
one suggestion, because you can see who is, you could just make sure that if you have quorum in there, or you don't create quorum in there, so you just check at the top.
Yeah,
And sometimes that's an okay thing, as long as you don't.
Well, if we're not
Creative
like
work.
communicating with each other, if we're just editing a document, putting in our own edits. Is that an actual public meeting?
I don't know.
We don't want to
I think
take the chance,
right.
okay,
Yeah,
I think it's
take
like
the
so
chance.
contextual.
So-
okay.
That being said, if you are done editing the document, exit out so that it doesn't show you being up
Yeah,
there.
yeah. And then do people want me to turn on track changes, or do you just wanna
I think because,
go for it?
I think it'll look like spaghetti.
yeah,
Everyone does track change.
Like, I'm fine with being the designated person that comments, approves, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah,
okay.
blah.
yeah.
All that, if we want to track changes.
Okay,
But if the majority don't feel like that's necessary, then
Google
It's
will
not
track
necessary.
the changes. You can always look,
Yeah.
right?
at the previous.
Yeah.
meeting.
You don't have to just,
I don't think we need to track them. And like, if you see things like, I think I saw noise pollution mentioned like 3 times, we can make sure that that's only like in one spot.
Yep.
Um,
The other thing I feel comfortable doing, if other people don't, is picking which water category the water thing is going into. I feel like in my mind, I have an idea of how it makes sense. Which is, like I said, like mining activity, water, that's not about how the wastewater treatment plan functions, would be water quality. Adequacy of the water treatment plant is that. Hydrological concerns is more about groundwater. And then, anything in the reclamation plans for water would go under reclamation.
I think it is a good idea that one
that make
person
sense?
do it so that it's just consistent. I think it's just
Yeah.
the biggest thing, I feel like, to be consistent.
yeah.
So as you're going through edit, feel free to do what you need to do. But don't worry if you feel like this isn't in the right category.
We can also put it in ChatGPT and ask it to make categories for us.
Yeah, just clean it up at the end, maybe.
Yeah.
Are there any limitations on using AI for town work? I'm just, I'm not.
I
knowledge of
typically-
these.
From staff perspective, I try to keep certain
Mostly,
like
yeah.
I wouldn't put HR data in there. It's something that's like that is private, but I think
Yeah.
nothing here I don't believe would be. We don't typically use memory on ChatGPT just because where it keeps its brain, you don't always know.
Mhm.
What did I put in that this may have personal stuff in it and go against our AI standards? I did get a little red note of one of the things I copied and pasted from this application of that it might be sensitive data that
Interesting.
I was putting in. Maybe it was the water test
And it told you that.
thing,
Huh.
and the AI told me, like, watch out. I
Interesting.
was like, no, it's fine. Keep going. Just gonna look through and make sure there's nothing major that I had that we didn't.
Didn't see pilot project in there yet, so I'm adding that now.
That is a quote I have from the Mountaineer article from one of the representatives from them. This is in all of their press releases that they call it a pilot project.
Okay,
In the application itself, they say that they are testing the efficacy of the wastewater treatment chemical, that they're testing all these things that makes it pretty clear it's a pilot project. But
Well,
the
if they're-
actual quote, this is a pilot project, came from a Mountaineer article.
okay, but it wasn't documentation that Cross Mines put out themselves. It says,
Was it a representative, someone Byrne from
Okay.
Cross Mine, from
well,
Cross
so,
Mines?
I mean, can we reference things outside this application? I suppose we can, like the
Yeah.
previous release. I mean, as long as
I'd say
we're
so.
making,
And I think if we find other mining disasters that feel relevant, like referencing those could be helpful too, of like, we're worried about this potential, which happened in this place in 2012 or whatever.
Argo Mill, it's far and it's a bigger tunnel, but
Mhm.
they have this reclamation effort in place there, so it's I think worth looking at a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the same mineral belts and everything, but they
Oh.
like list out what they pull out.
The reclamation plans
this is just generally, let's see what you guys have here. If you read the reclamation plan, to me, it feels, again, just like everything else, very lackluster, very minimal. They're basically saying, oh yeah, we're gonna regrade it and seed it, and then it'll be great. And we plan to be done in 3 years, and we don't foresee any need for more reclamation activity after 3 years.
Crucio Field grew it so good.
Uh-huh. So, there's definitely some large concerns just about the lack of detail in their reclamation plan. As well as lack of foresight for any major hazardous cleanup need. Like, yeah, just cover it with dirt and
Did you see
pretend
a
like it was never there again.
notification process or procedure, like in the case that there is a, like, not a spill, but whatever you call it, like a contamination issue?
Yes, they have a process for, spills, and they have a process for emergencies. Both of those are at different places in the document, and it's pretty clear if you use like a PDF searcher to look for those plans. You'll find, I think the spill response plan is in the environmental plan. And then the emergency plan is like one of the last things in the document. And what I found is that they're very copy and paste from the internet. What's an emergency plan? Let's copy and paste it here. And there's stuff about if you encounter uranium, which they're not mining for uranium at all there, but it's just in their plan of like, as if they were a miner that did deal with uranium. And so it feels very copy and pasted to me. It wasn't, they didn't mention like, oh, if there's a major spill, this is the time that we contact CPW. They just kind of say authorities in general. And then on one of the pages list this various authorities, and they wouldn't even contact CPW. If there was a spill, they would contact the Environmental Health and Safety Department. Is that right? Public Health and Safety, something like that. So, it was pretty boilerplate, pretty standard, nothing special.
Do you think it's important that they would contact us potentially? Because that water does go through town, but
Yes, and I'm wondering if that's something that would be required of them if we were within 2 miles, but because we're not,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's one of those things that's triggered by the 2 mile thing. I think it would be good for us to request that above and beyond and notification of any spills or major emergencies.
thank you all for working on this. I know it's huge. I have not finished the application. I've been reading it, but I'm not as far along.
For me, it's like, we're talking about the health of my child here,
Correct. Yep.
and Coontrack Creek runs right through his dad's backyard.
Possibly grandkids. Like you never
Yep.
know.
Yep.
It's 50 years. So
So, my kid plays in that creek.
5,000 years, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man. So it's
But also
important.
50 years.
Probably one of the most important things we'll do.
They're actually doing stuff, discharging stuff, not just stuff floating through cracks in the ground that come out in groundwater.
Yep.
But also just like lead dust coming into the, like downwind, rear downwind.
That depends on, how they do it.
Yeah,
Like,
we
we
have
don't
no idea.
We don't know.
Let me go back
This
to
will presumably
wildlife.
be a much shorter, less intense application process.
You'd think
We did remove
that's probably what they're putting, right?
milling from the use table for the wolf tongue. That was something that happened last fall.
I don't think anyone's gonna wanna open up a mill in town.
Yeah, I agree, but I think it's good that it's not in there now.
Are we, still going or are we adjourned?
So I said 3:15 because we do need to talk about the SAB applications. Because if we want to have a SAB, the SAB members appointed before our next SAB meeting. We need to talk about it now, because if we wait
Okay.
to talk about it to our next SAB meeting, then
Is this an official SAB meeting?
I asked John and Macy and they
I
said we
mean, I
could
think
talk
they
about it at
posted
this,
it.
and I
We have
posted
forum.
it.
1, 2, 3,
And Jack's
4, yeah.
online. Yeah,
I'm here.
All right. I just want to make sure we're got
so,
everything, all our ducks in a row.
yep.
I motion to recommend that the BOT appoint Erica Thorley to the full SAB member position and the other applicant to the alternate SAB member position. That's what I need to do.
Second.
Rich second.
Can we see?
I will call a vote. Jack,
Wait,
Did Jack say something?
Jack's
Yeah,
do you have a
talking.
question first?
can I see the application for the second SAB member?
Yeah, it should be included in that agenda I sent out.
Okay, I did look at the agenda. I did not see.
It was not on there. Okay.
I saw
um,
it somehow.
It should have
I may
a
have
link to it, or
got the notes. I'm sorry, y'all.
No worries.
it's okay.
Fine.
I just want to make sure I know who we're.
Okay,
Uh,
thanks for coming.
Yeah. There we go. No, that's.
Can
the
I
era
send an email to
concept.
the BOT inviting them to the Wild Bear tour on Friday?
Yes, I need to. You just make.
Yeah, I need to post it for SAP
Yeah,
too,
go ahead.
so,
We'll get.
I just wanna
Tomorrow, so it'll be like.
okay, I just wanna see if
Yeah.
anyone can go.
Because that's,
And then I can help with this, so let me know where we're at when it's off or whatever.
Okay, is it 3 PM?
I'm going on a different tour.
Oh, fun.
Now I can't find today's agenda. Were you able to find it, Rob?
Jack,
Jack, sorry.
I am afraid that I've gone through all the links that I think have come
Jack.
through. I think we may have written over it.
Jack, if
Oh, you're
you're
sharing?
looking at my screen, it's up.
Great. Give me a second.
Did any of
Cool.
you need to read this?
Great. I've seen what I need to see.
All right, I will call a vote. Jack,
Yay.
Rich,
Yes.
Reb,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. Motion passes.
Great.
Cass, was there a resume or anything attached with that application?
No, I believe it was just the application.
Great. I feel very good about my yay.
Cool. All right, thanks for coming.
Anything else on the agenda?
No, that was it on the agenda.
Okay,
That's adjourned.
meeting adjourned at 3:10 PM.
Jack, yeah?
No, it's okay. We can adjourn. I just action
Okay.
items on getting this to Cass and John by tomorrow afternoon.
That's unadjourned.
Yes,
That we are unadjourned.
we are not adjourned. Well, we never officially adjourned. I just called for it, but we didn't
Okay.
vote for it.
Okay.
Yes, we will be adding notes individually to the document titled SAB Cross Mine BOT Letter Recommendation, which is the most recent Google Docs link that we all got sent.
Great. And we will be doing so with not more than 2 of us in the document at any given time.
Correct.
And-
If you
Yes.
see 2 people, don't do it then. Wait.
Great. And when we say notes, we mean like adding like actual text to document, not just comments. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. I understand the mission. I will support. I appreciate that
You
clarification.
understand the assignment.
Awesome.
I really like understanding the assignment.
Agreed.
All right. Now I will call to adjourn the meeting at 3:12.
I agree. Adjourn.
All approved. Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Good work, everybody. 3 minutes early.
Woohoo!
Wow.
All right, we can probably turn off.
Nice job. Yeah.
3
So-
minutes early or 12 minutes late?
She changed it to 3:15 like yesterday.